Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Finance Minister responds to trade unionists who have described his recent announcements as premature. Cautious optimism. Residents of Port Royal react to recent adoption of their health center. And later in sports, West Indies assistant coach urges players not to lose confidence after Bangladesh defeat. I'm Vashan Brown and here are the details. A response this afternoon from Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke to trade unionists who have described his recent announcements about paternity and maternity leave arrangements as premature. The matter was raised on TVJ's All Angles last night. We have more in this report. The finance minister at a press conference earlier this week announcing that paternity leave will be introduced in the public sector while maternity leave will be extended to 3 months. But not long after that announcement, trade unionists like General Secretary of the Jamaica Association of Local Government Officers, Helene Davis-White, described the announcement as premature. Dr. Clarke responded to that point on TVJ's All Angles last night.
When this has not been the central matter of discussion. This is a matter that was raised, and in the context of it, when it was raised, the conversation, certainly with a couple of members around the table, was, look, that's an item that, we agree that we take off the table and leave it for the minister to deal with.
He said when the matter was raised at a meeting with some union members present, there was no opposition to allowing the minister to handle this matter.
And before I made the announcement, I would have called Helene, not long before, but I called her before and discussed with her that I'm not, and shared with her that I'm going to make this announcement. And she asked me to consider something else in my announcement, and I considered it and added that to what I had to say.
Do you accept the concerns, though?
I understand the perspective, but there are other things that have to be. To be considered with the role. My role is
political mileage.
My role
being one of them.
My role is a different role, right? We all sit around the table, have a responsibility to the Jamaican people overall, and there's a lot of lots of things that I have to consider, and I reserve the right to speak to the Jamaican people on matters that I consider are necessary for them to be aware of. But
Mrs. Davis-White, who was also a guest on All Angles last night, noted that she does not accept the minister's response.
He referenced the fact that he spoke with me, but he spoke with me minutes before the announcement. I didn't know when he was speaking with me that he intended to announce it at that time. I tried to discourage him from making the announcement, putting forward the very same kind of position that I have placed in the media and other trade unionists have placed in the public sphere as well, that, based on how we conduct collective bargaining, what are some of the protocols involved in collective bargaining, you should not want to take out one part of items that are under discussion and, put it forward. I mean, a lot of persons who saw it would not have known that it arose from discussions with the unions.
Under Jamaica's Maternity Act, workers can get up to 3 months maternity leave, but will only get paid for 2 months. Cautious optimism. That's how residents of Port Royal are describing their approach to the recent adoption of their health centre by Fraser Fontaine and Kong. The residents say they felt long forgotten and are hoping that the adoption will improve health services in the community. Jamila Maitland reports.
$3 million for 3 years. That's the commitment given by insurance brokerage company Fraser Fontaine and Kong to the people of Port Royal toward the health centre.
We have spoken to the community and health team members. We understand their challenges, especially with the limited services being offered currently. Therefore, we will work closely with the ministry to enhance the range and frequency of services provided.
But for those living in Port Royal, it's long been felt that the community has been abandoned by the public and private sector. President of the Port Royal CDC, O'Neill Chuck, says there will be a little resistance by residents at first because of the past.
There are persons who will be hesitant to embrace the change, the improvement, because over the years things have been done and they have not materialized the way we have wanted to.
Parish Administration Officer Tamika Hall-Holtham says already blood pressure machines, adult scales, and medical sundries such as gloves, cottons, and tapes, and other items are needed. The facility is only opened twice per month, and in addition to Port Royal, it treats people from Harbourview and Bull Bay. It's why the community is asking for at least another day, citing countless times when emergencies occur and they're forced to brave the remote road to find another health center. However, TVJ News understands that staffing is an issue. It's why Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is urging more companies and even those in the diaspora to find out how they can assist.
When you were here, you fell out of the mango tree and your mother carried you to the health center first, or you buck your toe running up and down, right? For those who never had shoes, like me, it was the health center that responded. You cannot help but remembering that community where you're from and the value that was created with those personal issues.
As for the residents, they're hoping that with the additional funding, the health center can be more sustainable.
Back in the day when the clinic was operating before, many of us, including myself, would have gone and gotten treatment. So, it's up to us as the older generation to establish things like this, maintain it, and pass it on to them to keep.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
2 motor vehicles ran over a section of the breakaway at Broadgate in St. Mary, one last night and the other 2 nights ago. Now motorists are fearful of crossing the area, as Codian Barrett explains.
This area, a narrowly attached piece of road at the side of a mountain, a risk of a motorist whose vehicles might fall off if they are not able to skillfully navigate across. So far, that has been the reality for 2 drivers.
This me a drive. By the time I reach up there, so I see a vehicle pass me, and by the time it pass me, it go over the gully there. And we are telling the people who are up on the road, I talk about people to take time drive, but them not even, I just recently them I try to put up something. Sign to indicate, say people if you have caution. It is a travesty.
Luckily, no one was injured. But before the breakaway result in a tragic outcome, motorists are calling for the National Works Agency to repair that section of the road with urgency.
The road is not in deplorable condition, trust me. Every weekend, partially every night, a vehicle go crash over the ditches. They need to do something about it. If not, this thing could have blocked all the road.
And when drivers slow down to cross the area, they are at risk of other dangers. It's understood that a man was shot and killed last week while driving on the corridor. One motorist suggested another solution to the breakaway.
In the 80s, this place has been sinking and it continues to dump it. We need a bridge and if we stop waste taxpayers' money. Okay, so all we need is a bridge, a flyover.
Codian Barrett, TVJ News.
As Television Jamaica transitions from analog to digital, increased calls for special channels to be dedicated to education. Now it comes as the government stressed that it is still struggling to resolve the learning loss caused by COVID-19. Speaking at the ATSC 3.0 conference in Trelawney, Minister with Responsibility for Information Robert Morgan said the government is still trying to find hundreds of students missing from the school system since the start of the pandemic.
That we could use TV to educate. But there was a problem. We only have one station. We only have one channel. So how do I pack in 6th form, 5th form, 4th form, 3rd form, 2nd form on TVJ or CVM between 12 o'clock and 4 p.m.?
I went to Gary's boot camp.
Now, yesterday we reported that a United States-based company, Information Equity Initiative, introduced a device to stakeholders which will allow students to learn virtually without internet connection.
The idea that we could have 12 education channels free to air for every single grade or even subjects in school. You could democratize the sharing of information so much that you're now able to lift more people out of poverty through education.
Councillor for the Brownstown Division in St. Anne, Kim Brown Lawrence, was yesterday cleared of fraud and corruption charges by the Integrity Commission. Mrs. Brown-Lawrence made the revelation at the St. Ann Municipal Corporation meeting this morning. The Brownstown Division Councillor was being investigated by the Integrity Commission following the Caribbean Maritime University scandal. Now, though Mrs. Brown-Lawrence was cleared by the Commission, she has not been cleared by the courts, and she's scheduled to reappear in court tomorrow. It was reported that Mrs. Brown-Lawrence had accepted funds and fixed roads with money allegedly channeled from the CMU. She was charged alongside former Education Minister Roel Reid, CMU President Professor Fritz Pinnock, Mr. Reid's wife Sharon, and their daughter Cheryl. And it's now time for a break, but please stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. More disruptions to water supply in communities in St. Thomas due to the ongoing road work. Some residents who had adjusted to reduced water distribution now say they're not getting any of the commodity at all. Cody and Barrett reports.
We want water! We want water! No! 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 Want water, no!
According to residents of Hillside in St. Thomas, for months they've been seeing low water pressure, but now the water is gone totally. Residents have resorted to cutting their pipes in low areas in hopes of getting running water or traveling miles to fill containers at this pipe or purchasing water.
Me last year, I come in, and even from them time until now, at the same situation with water. You have to stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning before you can get a little bit. During the day, none at all. Right? So my tank around there is 1,000 gallons. You can't fill.
For the past 6 months, no lie, we could have set up for water at night time. No, we can't even 9 nights, not even 9 days no water now come, much less set up again. We would just set up like 12, 1 o'clock, get water, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock water gone. We used to live with that. Now, this is some people that buy water $10,000 and it serves them for 3 days, 4 days water done. Me can't buy water then.
They explained that since the road work started, they've noticed the change.
You're working too slow with the water system. You cut off the water system and now we have no water in the pipe.
Me now say please, go on back with water. Come in a pretty up thing. Water alive, see? And we want water. We starting water, we are nothing, nobody. We request James faster. And Mr. Man, me love beard fast. I mean yam fast. Right now, me thirsty, you know. Thirsty, me want water, man. Me now beg this thing, man. Where water there? Look all the road say. You dig up the road and dig up the pipe and bust up the pipe, make man can't no water, man. Come give back water here.
Residents also raised concerns about the effect this will have as new diseases are emerging.
COVID diseases going around. There's so many things that's happening and we need water. Monkeypox and everything, we need water to clean our environment. So please, who is in charge, please come. And we need the water now.
They're calling for the relevant authorities to address the issue.
So we're begging you, Water Commission, come out. Water Commission, come out. Government of Jamaica, come out and help us. We need water. We can't set up a night to get water and the water not come. So let us get some water.
Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute.
The government raked in additional revenues from Jamaica Customs Agency between April and December 2021. The Jamaica Customs collected 35.4% more in tax revenue, which amounted to $183.6 billion. According to the agency, increased imports and more stringent monitoring and oversight contributed to the increased earnings. For the first time in 2 decades, the US dollar is equal to the euro in value as Europe grapples with growing recession fears and the fallout from Russia's war in Ukraine. The two currencies reached parity Wednesday morning after the euro abruptly lost value following the release of worrisome US inflation data. For inflation in the EU Commission says that it will peak at 8.3% this year compared to a previous forecast of 6.8%. It thinks inflation will then drop to 4.6% in 2023. In its last economic forecast, the Commission said inflation would drop to 3.2% in 2023. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And it's time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Trinidad and Tobago has accused developed countries of hoarding vaccines to treat the monkeypox virus. Health Minister Terence Delia Singh says something unfortunate is happening on the vaccine front. He said he hoped the world would have learned from COVID-19, but he argues that globally, the bigger, wealthier countries are stockpiling vaccines for their populations, leaving smaller countries like Trinidad and Tobago at a disadvantage. Dale Singh said he is making an appeal that the monkeypox vaccine be made available on a more equitable level to all countries based on not only their population size, but their risk profile. On the international scene, as new abortion restrictions begin to take shape in the U.S., 3 Mexican women quietly crossed into the country at different points along the border with dozens of abortion-inducing pills hidden in their belongings. The medication, an FDA-approved 2-drug combination, had traveled across the interior of Mexico in the previous days, handled by an underground network of some 30 organizations in the country. Organizers say since the U.S. Supreme Court repealed Roe v. Wade, the network has moved an average of 100 doses across the border each day. And those were the regional and international stories. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And we head now to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report, and Renata Brown is already here for that. So please stay with us.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports. Jamaica has been joined in Heat 2 of the mixed 4x400 meter relay, which will be the first track event at the World Athletics Championships in Eugene, Oregon, which starts on Friday. Jamaica, who won the silver in the event at the 2019 World Championship, has been joined in lane 3 and is joined by the Dominican Republic, Germany, Ireland, Brazil, Bahamas, South Africa, and Spain. Coach Bert Cameron has the responsibility of arranging the Jamaican team.
Some passes today at 4 o'clock, and then we finalize the first 4 athletes that's going to go out there. It's not hard to pick because they all seems like they're in great shape.
Now, Janelle Bromfield, Tiffany James Rose, Akeem Bloomfield, and Gregor Prince were named to the mixed relay pool for Jamaica, but the team is not limited to those athletes. Prince, who is set to arrive in Eugene today, is not expected to be a part of the quartet for the heat. The mixed relay is set to go off at 1:45 p.m. Jamaica time. In football, Real Mona FC are leaders of the Kingston and St. Andrew Football Association Championship after blanking Ligonier United 3-0 in their opening game at the Stadium East Field on Wednesday. St. Pinnock opened the scoring for Real Mona in the 40th minute before Michael Graham doubled their advantage in the 65th. Alex Spencer then added the third in the 67th minute. In the second game at the same venue, Police National clipped Pembroke Hall 1-0 in the first game of the CASAFA Major League season. Devron Thompson got the all-important goal in the 16th minute. Pembroke Hall, who are in a rebuilding phase, created a number of opportunities but could not get the equalizer. Both competitions will resume on Saturday. And in cricket, West Indies assistant coach Ruddy Estwick says the coaching staff is willing to keep the current group of limited overs players together despite losing a 10th straight one-day international to Bangladesh on Wednesday in Guyana. The Windies were swept aside by 9 wickets on Wednesday after being bowled out for 108, their second lowest ODI score at home in over 230 games. That poor batting performance followed Sunday's 6-wicket defeat, where the Windies were restricted to 149 for 9. Speaking after Wednesday's loss, Estwick noted that the key for the Windies batsmen is not to lose confidence despite the defeats.
I don't know if it's changes. I think we just need to be a little bit more confident. I think sometimes when you're having a bad run against an opposition, you can lose confidence a bit, and then you lose confidence. If you lose confidence in the surface as well, then it makes it even more difficult. So, like I said earlier, it's up to us as a management staff to lift these players. They're young players. Some of them haven't played a lot at ODIs. You know, Shea Hope is probably our most ODI player, and he haven't reached 100 ODIs yet. So it tells you it's a very inexperienced ODI team.
The third and final clash takes place on Saturday at the same venue. And finally, Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah and Yuzvendra Chahal have been rested for the 5 T20 internationals against the West Indies. The BCCI named an 18-man squad for the T20s starting on July 29 in Trinidad. The squad will be led by Rohit Sharma with possibly KL Rahul and Kuldeep Yadav returning to the side, subject to fitness clearance. The squad also sees the return of off-spinner Ravi Ashwin to the T20 squad for the first time in 2 years. India are set to play 3 ODIs and 5 T20 internationals on the Tour of the Caribbean. 2 of those T20s are set to be played in Florida in the USA. India had already named the ODI squad that was missing 3 are their regular members and to be led by Shikhar Dhawan. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. Fashion, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Renata. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.